Hello, OJCS. Today we're going to be talking about what animals do in the winter. We've already had a story time where we talked about migration, and as you have probably noticed, lots of the birds and butterflies have flown away to get ready for winter. So I wanted to talk about the topic of hibernation and how animals change their habits in the winter as the temperatures get colder. Some of them might be doing this very soon. So we're going to read about animals in winter. The first one's called Animals in Winter by Stephane Poulin. Mr. Click and his camera are back from another photo safari. His growing audience of young fans had kept asking him, but what do animals do in winter? The famous animal photographer decided to get the answer firsthand. After some funny adventures, he came up with not one, but several answers. This is his souvenir album. So this is a photographer, and he went out to take pictures of what animals do in winter. So we're going to look at some of them. They change their fur. Some turn white as snow. So they're changing the color of their fur to better blend in with the snow so that they're safe from predators, animals that would hunt them to eat them. They change houses or territories, so they roam to a different spot. Look at the photographer. He's dressed up like a snowman. They store food to last the whole winter. So lots of animals, you can see all the different ones in the picture who are storing food to keep for the winter. They move south where it's warm. And we talked about migration in another story time. That's called migration. Yes. They doze all winter. These ones are all sleeping. Although, sometimes they wake up. That's called dormancy. They sleep soundly all winter. Look at these animals. These ones are underneath the sand at the bottom of a pond. That's called hibernation. And our photographer has gone to bed. Sometimes I wish I could sleep all winter too, especially when it starts to get really cold. So that's the topic of our next book. This book is called Animals That Sleep in Winter by Gwynne Vevers, illustrated by Colin Threadgall. Introduction. When it's very cold in winter, some animals go to sleep. This is not like ordinary sleep. They go to sleep in a sheltered space for months at a time. This kind of winter sleep is known as hibernation. It helps the animals to get through the winter when food is scarce. Their bodies become quite cold. They hardly breathe at all. Their heartbeats beat very slowly. Their bodies use the fat stored during summer to keep them alive. When it becomes warmer in spring, they start to wake up. Dormice. In Europe, when it becomes cold in autumn, a dormouse curls up into a ball inside its nest in a tree or in a hole in the ground. There it goes to sleep until the following spring. Its body feels very cold and it breathes very slowly. It may wake up once in every 24 hours and then go fast asleep again. Dormice are very fat in autumn. They use the fat to live on through the winter while they're asleep. By spring, they have lost half their weight. Look how cute. Now that's pretty adorable. Hamsters and chipmunks. In autumn, hamsters make stores of food to feed on during the winter. They seize potatoes and carrots with their teeth and drag them to their nests. There they chew the food into bits and store it away. They also store oats. Hamsters go to sleep in winter but may wake up every 5 days or so to feed on the stores of food. They may also wake up if the weather becomes warm for a short time. In North America, chipmunks, shown on the cover, also store food such as hazelnuts, maize, and maple seeds before they go to sleep. Now, of course, they're not talking about your pet hamsters. They're talking about wild hamsters. Hedgehogs. In Europe, when winter comes, a hedgehog finds a sheltered spot, sometimes in a pile of garden rubbish, and goes to sleep. It curls and its body temperature drops until the animal is as cold as the air around it. The hedgehog does not sleep all through the winter. Usually it wakes up every 2 or 3 days and may then feed on a worm. Hedgehogs hibernate for 3 or 4 months, usually from late autumn until the spring. Bears. In winter, brown bears live in a den, which may be a hole in the ground or a hollow tree. Look at the picture on page 4. Yes, you remember that picture from the beginning. There it is. Polar bears in the Arctic live in a hole in a snowdrift during winter. The she-bear gives birth to her cubs while living in the winter den. Bears do not go fast asleep like dormice, but become sleepy or sluggish. Bears eat a lot in summer and autumn and grow very fat. In winter, when they are in the den, they live on the stored fat. So I also grow sleepy and sluggish in the winter, so I think I might be a bear. Bats. In cool climates, bats hibernate in a cave or in a roof space. They hang upside down and go to sleep. They become quite cold, almost as cold as the air around them. They breathe slowly and their hearts beat slowly. While they are asleep, bats live on the fat stored in the body during summer. Sometimes they wake up for a short period and go to sleep again. And I've actually seen this because there's a cave you can visit not too far from Ottawa, the Bon Cher Caves, where you can actually see these bats hibernating if you visit at Thanksgiving. You can see that they're already going to sleep. Birds. A pourwil is a kind of bird that lives in North America. One winter about 30 years ago, a pourwil was found fast asleep, was sitting in a crack in a cliff, not moving, and with its eyes closed. Its body felt cold and it was only just breathing. Its heart was beating very slowly. This bird remained asleep for about 80 days. The pourwil is the only bird which hibernates for a long period. Reptiles. In places where the winter is cold, tortoises bury themselves in the ground. Tortoises living in southern Europe hibernate in this way. They stay underground until the warm weather returns. Tortoises do not feed while hibernating. Tortoises kept in captivity should be allowed to hibernate. This is best done by placing them in a box of hay kept in a cool place. In cold weather, snakes and lizards find a sheltered place and remain there until it becomes warmer. So I guess this means if you just have a pet giant tortoise, not your little pet turtle you keep in a tank. Frogs and toads. Frogs bury themselves in the mud at the bottom of a pond when the winter's cold. Sometimes several frogs hibernate in the same place. Toads too become sleepy in winter. During winter, they often live under a stone. Frogs and toads that hibernate do not feed during the winter, so they don't eat anything all winter. Insects and snails. Oh, I've always wondered. In places where the winter's cold, many insects and snails hibernate and do not feed. The small tortoiseshell butterfly of Europe often spends the winter inside a garden shed, hanging from the roof. Some other butterflies also do this. Many beetle grubs hibernate underground. Snails go into holes in walls or under leaves when the weather becomes cold. They remain there until it becomes warmer. Well, I feel like I learned a lot from this book. This was a very interesting book. The next one is called Kittens Winter by Eugenie Fernandes. And as I go through the pages, I want you to try to spot all of the animals, and you can try to figure out how they are hibernating or if they are hibernating in the winter. Snow blows, kitten hurries. So the birds are awake and skittering around. Looks like there's a squirrel skittering around too. Pond freezes, fox scurries. Turtle burrows, beaver naps. So I see some animals sleeping in this picture. They're hibernating. Raccoon dozes and woodpecker caps. So the woodpecker is awake in the winter. We see the woodpecker all winter, but the raccoon is hibernating. And I know that because I used to have a raccoon hibernating in my attic above the house. Every single winter it would go sleep in there. Rabbit hops, mouse zips. Otter catches, fish flips. So the otter doesn't sleep in winter. It catches fish. Squirrel searches, bear sleeps. Chipmunk snoozes, snow heaps. Blizzard howls, kitten struggles. Door opens. Kitten snuggles. And I have one more story to read to you. We have an extra one today because a few of those are pretty short. This one is called Bear Snores On, and it's by Karma Wilson and Jane Chapman. In a cave in the woods, in his deep dark lair, through the long cold winter, sleeps a great brown bear. Cuddled in a heap with his eyes shut tight, he sleeps through the day, he sleeps through the night. The cold wind howl and the night sounds growl, but the bear snores on. An itty-bitty mouse, pitter-pat, tiptoe, creep crawls in the cave from the fluff cold snow. Mouse squeaks, too damp, too dank, too dark, so he lights wee twigs with a small hot spark. The coals pit-pop and the wind doesn't stop, but the bear snores on. Two glowing eyes sneak peek in the den. Mouse cries, "Who's there?" And a hare hops in. "Oh, Mouse," says Hare, "long time no see." So they pop white corn and they brew black tea. Mouse sips wee slurps. Hare burps big burps, but the bear snores on. A badger scuttles by, sniff snuffs at the air. "I smell yummy yums, perhaps we can share?" I've brought honey nuts, Badger says with a grin. Let's divvy them up, cozy down, and dig in. And they nibble and they munch with a chew chomp crunch. But the bear snores on. A gopher and a mole tunnel up through the floor, then a wren and a raven flutter in through the door. Mole mutters, "What a night, what a storm," twitters wren, and everybody clutters in the great bear's den. They tweet and they titter, they chat and they chitter, but the bear snores on. In a cave in the woods, a slumbering bear sleeps through the party in his very own lair. Hare stokes the fire, mouse seasons the stew, then a small pepper fleck makes the bear achoo. He blows and he sneezes and the whole crowd freezes. And the bear wakes up. Bear gnarls and snarls, bear roars and rumbles, bear jumps and he stomps, bear growls and he grumbles. You've snuck in my lair and you've all had fun, but me, I was sleeping and I have had none. And he whimpers and he moans and he wails and he groans and the bear blubbers on. Mouse squeaks, "Don't fret, don't fuss, look, see, we can pop more corn, we can brew more tea." Bear gulps, bear gobbles, he sighs with delight, and he spins tall tales through the blustery night. When the sun peeks up on a crisp, clear dawn, bear can't sleep. But his friends snore on. I hope you enjoyed all of the stories and you learned something about hibernation, and I hope you enjoy the activity, which I will post below. Have a great day. Bye.